Running a home service business is hard. So how is it that some people make it look so easy? Well, we'll tell you. This is the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. It's always good to hear the wins that successful contractors have. But have you ever thought that the best advice would be to hear about the speed bumps they encountered, the mistakes they've made along the way? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to be successful and avoid the mistakes others have made. Let's get this party started. Welcome to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Now your host, Justin Deese.
Welcome to Freedom Blueprint Podcast. And this is a pretty special episode. This is episode 52. And obviously for a show that comes out once a week, that's 12 months. That's a year anniversary. We've got a little bit. So actually the podcast is a little over a year. There was a small gap in between there, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later. But listen, in this episode, I just wanted to talk about really some really amazing things that have taken place and events that we've gotten to go to, and just some high level stuff that's happened over the past 12 months and the amazing opportunity that this podcast has really given us. And it's neat. So I figure, what the heck, man, let's talk about some cool stuff. So some other things too, we have some big stuff coming up. So depending on when you're listening to this, if you are listening to it when it goes live, then Service World Expo is around the corner. And if you don't have a ticket yet, check out the show notes. There'll be a way in there to save some money when you get a ticket. But Chris and I will definitely be there. And we've got some neat things that we're able to do and getting to do at Service World. And I'm really just pumped to share the journey with everybody. So to kind of think about reflecting on this journey, what's crazy is this actually started about 9 years ago, the podcast. And I think about the saying of when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago is typically what they say. And really the truth is the best time to ever do anything was yesterday. And over the years, I got the chance and opportunity to connect with a guy named John Lee Dumas, man, almost 9 years ago. And if you're a podcast nerd like me, you know who John Lee Dumas is. He runs Entrepreneurs on Fire, which is one of the biggest podcasts out there and has been for almost a decade. And I never could quite pull the trigger. And I think about it now, and I always told myself time, I didn't have the time. I didn't have the whatever. I made every excuse I could. And what's crazy is finally I got to a point when I finally started working on this podcast that I made a commitment. I said, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm not going to let anything get in the way. And I'm glad I made that decision. Now, I say that, and I also had something that got in the way a little bit. Get in the way is not really the right term, but I had something that paused it for a second. And again, I'll get in that in a minute. But over this 12 months, the podcast, I get amazing feedback from people. We've got really good, KPIs, I'll call it. I get a lot of amazing feedback from people, and there's people that have been on this journey with me from day one. And if you're that person, thank you. Your support means it means a lot to me. And even if this is the first time you're listening, welcome. Glad you came and checked it out. All my information and contact information is always in the show notes. So if you ever have anything for me, feedback, question, want to talk about anything that we talked about on the show, fire me an email. I'm usually pretty easy to get in touch with. So let's dig into the pause real quick. Let's start with the pause that happened of the show. So originally we launched, I want to say it was May of 2023. And when we launched it, I was rocking and rolling, but then in September, we ended up selling our business. We owned Paradise Home Services, Chris Gist, Mandy Gist, me and my wife, we all owned Paradise Home Services in Navarre, Florida. And when we launched the business, we knew we were going to sell it. I mean, that was always part of the plan. We sold it much faster than we kind of anticipated. And it worked out great. We found really good partners. Again, we weren't planning to even sell it when we sold it, but man, we met Leap Partners, and we met some of the people from there, John and Patrick, who've all been on the podcast, and they were just amazing. We felt like they were great partners, so we ended up doing the deal, working with them, and I put a pause on the podcast because obviously I wanted to be respectful of time and all that kind of good stuff. And I was sitting down with John one day, the CEO, and I said, look, I was doing this podcast. I really would like to ramp it up again. And he was just so supportive, and oh my gosh, I think that's amazing. And I got to check it out. And he's become a listener, and it's pretty cool. But that paused it for a little bit, for a couple of months, while we were kind of going through that transition, making sure everything was good to go. And now here we are 14, 15 months in. Man, it was a very, very good decision that we made to partner with them. The business has changed a lot for the positive, and it's just cool. It's cool to see it. It's cool to watch it grow. I'm now getting to work on the Leap side, the main company side, helping a little bit with acquisitions, and it's been fun. I know a lot of times people ask me, how's it going? And that's usually my answer is fun. Like it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it is a lot of fun. So one of the other big journeys that I had, and this is really more personal. Well, I say it's personal, and I'm sure there's been positive impacts on my professional side as well. But last year I started a alcohol-free journey, and it was a little bit weird. I was having some medical issues. I'd kind of gone off and on where I always call them cleanses. I'm like, I'm going to go on a cleanse, and I would cleanse for a week or two. And really, I went to the doctor, and they're like, you got to do all this stuff. And I wasn't ready in my life to start living out of a pill bottle yet, or at all, quite frankly. I'm kind of weird. I don't even like taking aspirin. So I said, you know what, with what I got going on, I'm busy enough without the distraction of it. And I stopped. I stopped drinking alcohol, and that was tougher than I thought it was going to be. I think it gave me pretty good reflection to realize that maybe I was drinking more than I should have been, right? And everybody's got their own. I'm not here bashing anybody who's drinking, or it's none of that. This was a whole personal thing for me. I love a good craft beer. I love whiskey. I love bourbon. But yeah, there was just a lot going on, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna pump the brakes for a minute. And I didn't have a plan other than I'm gonna pump the brakes, and I'm gonna watch how this affects my health. Pretty quickly, my health things that I had going on started to improve. One of the biggest things was, man, my sleep. Holy cow, my sleep got so much better. Again, it took a couple of weeks, but man, it got better. And I started sleeping really good again. And it's pretty amazing what happens when you start sleeping good. And I didn't even realize that I had a problem with sleep. Like, I just didn't ever sleep a whole lot, but I didn't realize what I was missing with all this good sleep. So that was great. My wife joined me in the journey as well, which certainly that makes it easier to have a partner that's not drinking as well. Cause self-control may not be, like one of my strongest things I got going on, but that was good. I've seen a lot of physical, mental, emotional, personal benefits. I will say, obviously I kind of wish I would have started this journey earlier. I do have younger kids. Well, they're not younger now. One's, 19 in the Marine Corps, and one just started her senior year in high school. But I've seen how it has changed them as well. It's a totally different story. I won't get into it, but kids watch, right? Kids watch, they pay attention, they see what you do. And I think our daughter has taken notice, and I think that's made a very positive impact on her life and how she handles social situations. Because, the truth is, a lot of times social gathering is revolved around alcohol. So, and that was not an exclusion for me. That's how I grew up. That's, everything revolved around. Anyways, I'm going to move on because I could talk about this all day, and I don't I don't think you came here to hang out to talk about that. But anyways, it's been a really positive journey. If anyone has any specific questions, again, email me. I'll be happy to help. There's an app that I use. I think it was called I Am Sober. Pretty cool to see milestones and reminders of, hey, look what you're doing. Hey, here's a year marker. That was a pretty cool. 6 months was a really big one for me as well. So some of the other positive things that have gone on this last year is we had a lot of speaking engagements this year. I think we had in total probably 8 different speaking engagements, which is pretty awesome, including a couple of keynotes. We did a couple of keynotes. We have another one coming up for Service World Expo. We're actually getting to do the opening keynote. Kristen and I are, which is really cool, man. It's cool to be able to focus on helping the people that are attending get the most out of their time together and finding their tribe. But if you've ever read our book, we talk a lot about finding your tribe. So we're going to get to talk about that, which is phenomenal. And this podcast is going to be on the podcast stage, which is pretty exciting. It's funny because I love speaking at events. I love it because I love the energy. I love the automatic feedback, the instant feedback. I like reading the room if you're onto something or if you're not. I dig that energy of speaking. Now, I will say that has been a challenge with the podcast because a lot of times, if it's just a solo episode, it's head to camera, right? It's me talking to a camera or to a microphone, and there's not a lot of vibe. Like you can't read the room, or you can't. So it is definitely a different art form, which I was not expecting as much, but it is a different art form. But the podcast, I'm going to get to do it on stage live. So I'm going to get to have some of that feedback, and I'm pretty pumped about it. I've never done a live podcast before. So that's going to be pretty exciting. One of the other cool things we got to do this year is we got to do the keynotes, the main keynote for Roto-Rooters National Conference. And that was cool. That was a lot of new people that we haven't met before. A lot of times, throughout the industry events, it's a lot of you run into a lot of the same people, which is great. We have a ton of friends in this industry, and it's always cool to run into somebody, and this one was different because we didn't know anybody there. And, a couple people had, obviously they say, hey, we got your book and it's great. But we didn't know anybody. So we got to make all kinds of new friends, which I always appreciate doing. And it's always fun because, everybody's on their own journey. And everybody's in a different place. So it's always fun. But yeah, so Service World this year, I know I said this earlier, but I'm going to put a note in the show notes that talks about a promo code. So if you're going to go and you haven't got your ticket yet, use the promo code. I think it's Freedom24, but definitely go to the show notes and check it out. Plus, if you do it, they're like, oh, this came from the podcast. So they'll want to have me back to do another live show, which, by the way, side note, squirrel. There is some pretty awesome, it's not just this podcast that's going to be on the stage. There's going to be, I'm going to actually pull it up to make sure I give everybody a shout out because there's some solid podcasts out there. My buddies Tersh and Josh from Service Business Mastery, they're going to be doing a podcast show on there. That's going to be on Wednesday. And then HVAC Secrets Revealed. That's a pretty good show as well. They're going to be doing one. David Heimer is going to be doing Profiles and Prosperity. That's the Service Nation podcast. And then it will be Powerful Women of the Trades, which is another phenomenal podcast to be doing. And then there's one that's going to be Service Nation News with Tom Peregrino. So it's going to be pretty cool to see a live podcast stage. I can't wait. I'm honestly honored to be able to do anything. It's always an honor and a privilege for someone to ask you to, present at one of their events. It's a lot because anyways, it's fun. I love doing it. And this is going to be something new. And I always like doing new stuff. That's just how I'm wired. I like to learn and try new things. And if it works, it's great. And if it doesn't, that's fine. We'll go back to the drawing board. One of the other big things that's happened this year is with our book, When Your Business Partner is Your Spouse. We launched this book in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic, and which we may have another release. I'm not sure if my wife wanted me to say that or not, but if you know that, then I know you listen to the show. But it's interesting because we started the book about 4 years before we released it, maybe 3 years. And we just kind of got hung up. We got a coach, and she was phenomenal. She got us to where we are. Like she got the book ready to go. And then we were starting to work on the cover, and it was during the pandemic, and getting pictures and getting photography and getting a room to do it. We couldn't find it. And so finally, I get this question a lot. Why aren't you guys on the cover of the book? That's why we're not on the cover of the book, is because we just got to the point where I said, you know what, we got to release this. Let's go. Let's put it out there. And so we had somebody design the artwork, and we sent it out because we just didn't want to delay it anymore. Plus, it was our 15-year anniversary, and we thought, like, what a cool time to release the book was on our anniversary day. The book has done better than I could have ever imagined. It's pretty awesome. And this year has been no exception. There's been, it's kind of cool when people buy a book from you. You've got all this written word down that you've spent a lot of effort and energy into. And, with the book too, it's a lot of digging up old stories that sometimes we kind of scratch our heads and we're like, do we really want to share this with the world? Because that was pretty bad. And that was the nice thing about a writing coach is they're like, yeah, it's that makes it relatable, is when you're vulnerable and you share. And we did. So if you've read the book, you know that. And if you haven't, check out the book. It's on Amazon. It's on, you can go to justindeese.com or kristendeese.com, and get a copy of the book. Or it's on Audible, either way. But it's neat. A lot of people come up to us at the conferences or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, I read your book," and it's like reading my story, which is phenomenal because let's be honest, running a business is not easy. It's not. Even if you know the steps and the all the things, there's a lot of moving parts that can make it a little bit difficult. So, but that's another big gratitude that I've got for this year is the book still doing very, very well. And that's thanks to you guys who listen and buy it and invest in it. And thank you. So really, as far as looking forward, well, let's look back and then we'll look forward. So this year, out of 52 shows, I think we ended up having probably about half of them I had guests on, maybe a little bit more. We've had some pretty incredible guests. Some of you guys have heard of, some you probably had not heard of before. Some were people who have been on hundreds and hundreds of, Tommy Mello has obviously been on hundreds of podcasts. Hirsch, Blissett, he's obviously been on hundreds of podcasts. But then there was some really good gold in some of the podcasts that we had, and some of the podcast guests that had never even been on a podcast before. So that's really cool. Is the goal of this whole thing was just to drive value, right? So to help people. I know that when I was early in my journey, I wish I would have had, well, I don't think there was podcasts when I first got started, but I wish I would have been able to find a network of people and just kind of be a fly on the wall and listen to conversations. And we've had phenomenal guests who have done a really good job, not only coming to the show and giving value, but also sharing to the world and sharing with their friends and their family, and people they know, saying, hey, check out this podcast. And that's really helped kind of the flywheel effect to grow the podcast over the last year and a couple of months. So it's been great. And we got some really awesome guests that are going to be coming up in the future as well. It's only going to get better. I guess that's my big sticking point. It's only going to get better. It's like anything else you do in life. It takes a little while to get your voice. It takes a little while to understand how you want to present certain things. And again, for those of you who have followed this from the very beginning, just in this year, I'm sure you've seen a significant difference in the show from the very beginning to now. Hopefully for the better, because that's our plan, is just to constantly improve, to make sure we're bringing the most value. This last year, we didn't do a whole lot on video side, although everything is recorded on video. So this coming year, we're planning on having a way more on YouTube and videos, and doing a little bit more on social media. Heck, I haven't even done a whole lot on social media. I'm not great on social media. I kind of go through those phases. Right now, we're in election season, as you know, if you're listening to this at the time it's coming out. And I don't really want to be on social media. I don't want all that in my life. I don't want it messing up my mojo. So I have a hard time being on social media. In general, sometimes I think it's a fantastic tool. I think it's a great way to connect. But yeah, during election season, especially right now, it's kind of a toughie. So for me, I try to stay clear of maybe that in the news a little bit to keep my future looking bright, regardless of what the news and everybody tells me is coming down the pipeline. So anyways, so again, I just want to say thank you. If you're listening, thank you. Thank you for your time, your feedback, your reviews. If I've put something on social media and you've given an engagement of any sort or shared or whatever, I just want to say thank you. It does mean a lot to me. And this show is here for you. It's for you. So if there's ever anything that you want to hear or a topic for us to talk about or a guest you would like me to have on here, this show is about you. So just let me know. Reach out to me. My email is justin@justindeese.com. So I'm a pretty easy guy to track down. And my website. The website came out, justindeese.com. So it'll have all the podcast stuff on there as well. But you can go there and check it out. And again, if you got any questions or anything, you need anything, I'm here. But again, I can't say this enough. Thank you for listening and participating, being a part of this community, and really the words of encouragement that I've gotten about the show. It is a lot of work to put out a podcast. I certainly did not know that going into it. And I will say, I wish I would have done it 10 years ago when I first started to do it, but you know what? Can't fix the past. All I can do is fix the future. So I'm going to keep plugging along. I'm going to keep dropping episodes on Monday. I'm going to keep driving value for everybody that's going to take the time to listen. And again, I thank you all very, very much.
You've been listening to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Information is useless if not applied. So take what you've learned and go and implement it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Freedom Blueprint for Home Services and hit the website at www.freedomblueprintpodcast.com. See you next time.